Hi, this is Carl from PerthRallyDriving.com, and we're going to look at how to change your engine oil and filter. First of all, you'll need some tools: spanner or socket, an oil filter strap or oil filter wrench of some description. If you need to gain access under the vehicle, a jack and jack stands, an oil drain pan, and also latex or some sort of disposable gloves. Why the gloves, you ask? Well, used engine oil is actually known to contain carcinogens and other nasty contaminants, and it's best not to get this on your skin. First step, warm the car's engine for 10 to 15 minutes and perhaps more in a colder climate to make sure that the oil is thin, is circulated around the engine, and any suspended particulates are now inside the oil. Park the car on level ground, and if you do have to raise the vehicle, make sure you chock the wheels. Don't rely on the handbrake or the vehicle being in gear to keep the car from moving. Next, find a suitable position to jack the car up. Your owner's manual will be able to tell you. If not, Google it for more information. Whatever you do, never work under a car that is supported on a jack alone. This is highly dangerous. The correct method is to have axle stands or jack stands placed in suitable positions and the car lowered and tested to make sure that it is safe before proceeding to get under the vehicle. Some people also use drive-on ramps. Once the car is in a suitable position and raised, remove the keys from your vehicle and put them in your pocket or somewhere safe. This is to prevent the engine from being started whilst there is no oil in the engine. Locate your vehicle drain plug for the engine oil, sometimes known as a sump plug. There could be a variety of plugs underneath the vehicle, and if you're unsure, check your owner's manual for the correct location. Using a spanner or socket, loosen the sump plug. Once you have loosened it, undo the sump plug by hand. This is where the gloves will be handy. The engine oil will be hot, and it's almost impossible not to get some oil on your hands when removing the sump plug, and the gloves will help protect your hands from the heat and the oil. Make sure you have a firm grip on the sump plug. It's quite often possible for the sump plug to slip out of your hands and fall into the oil drain pan that you've got to then reach in and fish out. Once the sump plug is removed and the oil is draining into the oil pan, go to the top of the engine and undo the oil filler cap to allow air in and the oil to freely drain out. We usually allow about 20 minutes for the oil to drain out of the sump before we attempt to remove the oil filter. The next step is to locate the oil filter. Some cars it's in an easily accessible place, others it is not. If you're not sure where the oil filter is, consult your owner's manual. The oil filter wrench or strap is only used to loosen the filter and not to completely remove it. Before removing the oil filter, ensure that the oil drain pan is below where the filter is going to be removed, as their oil filter will be full of oil. You may need to use a second oil drain pan or put the sump plug back into the sump. Once the oil filter has finished draining, use a clean rag and wipe all around the engine block, and particularly around the surface where the oil filter mates to the engine. For those engines that have an oil filter that hangs vertically, the next step is to place the new oil filter onto an old piece of cardboard or old newspaper and slowly fill the oil filter with new, clean engine oil. This should be done very slowly and carefully to avoid overfilling the filter. Wipe off any excess engine oil. The next step for all oil filters is to apply a very thin film of oil to the rubber seal on top of the oil filter. Install the new oil filter onto the engine. Take great care not to cross-thread the oil filter and only hand tighten the filter. Do not use a wrench or strap to tighten it up. If you haven't already, the next step is to refit the sump plug to the sump. First thing is to have a look at the sump plug and make sure that the threads are okay on the sump plug and that the gasket or copper washer that's around the sump plug is in a serviceable condition. If not, replace the gasket. Screw the sump plug in by hand and then tighten fully with a spanner or socket, and do not over tighten. The last step is to refill the engine full of clean engine oil. If you have a steady hand, you can pour it straight into the filler, depending where the filler is on the engine. If not, use a funnel and carefully pour in. Fill the engine until the oil level is slightly over the full line on the dipstick. Once you have filled the engine, run the engine for 15 seconds or so, check for leaks around everywhere that you've been working on the engine, and then check the oil level again. It may have dropped slightly, particularly if you had to put an empty oil filter on because it was on a side mount or upside down. Once you're happy that the engine oil level is correct and there are no leaks, you can pack up everything. Job done. Hope you found this information useful. Thanks for watching.